Good afternoon, guys. My name is Alena Shautsova. I'm an immigration attorney from New York. And today I'm going to have my weekly live. We're going to discuss a topic that many ask me questions about, topic of asylum, war, if you can qualify for asylum, if there is a war in your country, what you need to do to qualify for asylum. And of course, we're also going to talk about economy and immigration, how all the things are related, what to expect, what can be a good solution, if there is any good solutions in this particular situation. So thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for watching. I see some people joining. Don't forget that, as always, in the end of my presentation, we are going to have live Q&A. So please join, start sharing the stream. So we're going to have more people participating, and more people will join our Facebook family, our YouTube family. On Facebook, we just reached and already surpassed 600,000 followers. And on YouTube, I have less followers. So please help me to grow my channel by sharing the stream. And we are going to start. As always, I would like to know where my followers are from, where you guys are watching me from. And as such, tell me where you're watching from. Don't forget to put your questions in the chat. So once I'm done with my presentation, sharing whatever I want to share with you, I will go back and see what questions we're going to be discussing today. And again, like and share this show, and let's go. Let's start, right? I hope everybody's having a good Saturday. I hope everybody is doing well. So, asylum. Asylum in the United States is one of the most popular applications, I would say. You may know that each year during the pandemic, when the borders were closed, it was much less people, but each year, over 100,000 people are filing for asylum in the United States. And now, when the not only certain country, almost all country, or at least one country on every continent, and is a huge trouble, these numbers are going to be rising and rising and rising. If within the past couple of years we saw a huge wave of asylum seekers from Venezuela, now, of course, we see waves of asylum seekers from Ukraine, Russia. Perhaps soon there will be some other countries that necessarily will, citizens of which will necessarily be seeking asylum. So let's talk about asylum. Asylum, and people, I know that people who are watching me, you probably, people who are in the United States, a lot of my followers are actually asylum seekers, and I know that you already know many of these points. So I'm going to go just through basic qualifications for new people, people who will be watching this video for educational purposes when they're doing their research. So asylum in the United States is something that akin or is like a protection. When you are asking the United States to protect you from your home country, the United States is going to embrace you, and the process is going to be confidential, and they vouch not to send you back to your home country. Sometimes a person is going to have two passports, by the way. Then, to qualify for asylum in the United States, a person will have to show that they shouldn't be sent back to either of those countries, right? So it's very important to know that. I know people who are both citizens, for example, of Ukraine and Russia. Ugh. And to get asylum in the United States, you have to be in the United States or at the point of entry, okay? You have to be in the United States or at the point of entry. You cannot, or at the border, in other words, you cannot ask for asylum while you're overseas. Not possible, okay? You have to ask for asylum within 1 year of your entry to the United States or within reasonable time once either country conditions change significantly in your home country, if you had a lawful non-immigrant status which is expired, or there were circumstances beyond your control, and within reasonable time you decided to file for asylum once these circumstances stopped. Grounds for asylum can be only your political opinion, religion, nationality, race, membership in a particular social group. Again, political opinion, religion, nationality, race, membership in a social group. These are the grounds for asylum in the United States. Anything else that does not fit those grounds cannot be basis for asylum in the United States. The good news is that it's not necessarily self-explanatory. For example, refusal to pay bribes to corrupt officials may be regarded as political opinion in the United States that will qualify you for asylum. Some other actions may qualify you for asylum and be regarded as political opinion. So even though these grounds sound to be very restrictive because of the body of the case law, we know that they encompass more situations than a regular person may think would qualify them for asylum. And at the same time, certain situations when the person believes would qualify them for asylum not necessarily will. And we're going to talk about this. For example, the war. This is something I promised to speak about because I know many of my followers and many people online in general are searching for these answers. Will the war qualify one for asylum in the United States? If there is a war in your country and you escaped it, can you get asylum in the United States? Well, the answer is by itself, no. Believe it or not, but by itself, an act of war in your home country does not qualify you for asylum. But with everything else, there are exceptions. For example, if there is genocide going on in your country, not only just the war, then you, as a person of a protected class, may qualify for asylum. If there is political situation going on in your country as well, very possible. Let's take Russia and Ukraine conflict. Lawyers, my colleagues, report mixed results with a genocide theory of asylum for Ukrainians. Some judges view it as favorable theory and do grant asylum, and some judges do not. However, there may be something else in person's particular story that may qualify them for asylum. Consider a mixed family where spouses belong to different sides. Let's say one spouse is from Ukraine and is ethnic Ukrainian, and another one is from Russia, is ethnic Russian. If this family is getting persecuted because of the mixed nationality, but they have to prove that there is a persecution going on, they may qualify for asylum in the United States. Both, if it's Russian spouse who's getting persecuted because of their Ukrainian family member, and vice versa. Maybe there is something else in a person's particular circumstances that they may qualify them for asylum. Currently, as you may be aware, for example, again, we're talking about Russia, there is a draft or mobilization announced by the Russian government, meaning that regular citizens, citizens who have, according to the rules of the draft, as I understood them, have some military training, may be called to participate in the war, or will be called to participate in the war. If you do not want to go to the war, if you do not want to be a part of the draft, and this particular situation right now is happening in Russia, but it may be happening in other countries as well, right? If you do not want to be in the military, is it ground is it a ground for asylum in the United States? Well, by itself, it has been recognized as not a ground for asylum. However, if refusal to participate in the act of war by the government that you do not support, right? If refusal to participate also is tied to your political opinion about the government, you say, listen, I do not support this line of policies because I'm in opposition to the government, right? Then it may qualify a person for asylum in the United States. So just a refusal to participate in the military service will not, but if it's tied up to your particular opinion, it may. It's very, very important because, of course, you have to provide other evidence. If before you were totally supporting your government and only because of the draft you decided to say that you're not, you're probably not going to win asylum, right? So this is what's going on. This is the connection between the asylum and the war. We need to know the person's particular circumstances. We need to also research country conditions to see if we can argue, for example, like in Ukraine, genocide theory of the grounds for the political asylum. And then we can say that, yes, a person has a case, a person doesn't have a case. And of course, the situation may also change. Now, there is something that is called humanitarian asylum. This is particularly interesting for people who are already in the United States. And let's say you are in asylum backlog, right? You're waiting for your asylum for a very, very long time. You're in asylum backlog. Situation in your country could have been changed. Maybe you don't qualify for asylum anymore because you've been in that backlog for 10 years or 7 years or 5 years. Not necessarily relates this particular information only to Russia and Ukraine, but you can establish that in the past you suffered serious harm and persecution, but now you don't, right? Now you don't. A judge may still give you asylum in the United States. It's called humanitarian asylum if you can show that any harm can be done to you if you are returned back to your home country. Now imagine you filed for asylum many years ago. You can establish that there was a particular political party or some situation and you suffered persecution. However, now country conditions changed, but there is a war in your country, not necessarily related to your original claim. In this situation, you may ask for humanitarian asylum. Okay, so this is another aspect of how war and asylum can be related. So once you file for asylum in the United States, currently, I just wanted to share a little bit of information as to what's going on currently with that. Well, what's going to happen currently with that is this, you will have to wait for your receipt, asylum receipt. This is the first thing that usually people are getting confirmation that their claim was submitted. It's going to look something like this currently. And right now, in the United States, there is a process during which those people who filed for asylum last are going to be called for the interview first. And it should happen really quickly. Within literally a couple of months, they aim at 45 to 60 days after you submit your claim. However, something happened with USCIS, and only to get a receipt, confirmation that your claim was in fact submitted is going to take several months nowadays. If you look at this receipt, and I know this digits are really small, maybe you can enlarge them if you'd like to, but you're going to see that it took us about 3 months to receive a receipt for the recently filed asylum claim. So even though the government promises that they will be calling you for the interview within the 60 days after you file your case, it seems in practice not to be the case because they just can't. It takes them 90 days plus to issue the initial receipt. After you file your claim, and you're going to be using Form I-589 that can be found on the website www.uscis.gov. By the way, it's free. It's free. The forms for the asylum. There is no fee to file for asylum in the United States, apart from maybe lawyers' fees. So once you go through the steps, then you're going to just sit and wait until you're called for the interview. This is how it goes. And as I said, it should be within 60 days, but it's probably going to be longer. But it should not be years, like for people who filed their asylum claims prior to the changed order in 2018. And then the government is going to call you for the interview, and there will be an interview with asylum officer. And then they will decide whether or not you qualify for asylum. If not, they will be transferring you to court if you are already not in the court. Some people who are crossing the border with the United States or claiming asylum at the border will be placed in removal proceedings, and they will be filing their cases, perhaps a little bit differently. They're going to be submitting the applications with the court. If this is your case, you have to follow the rules for immigration court as to how to submit your case with immigration court. Immigration court practice manual spells out how to submit documents with the immigration court. And it, if you are representing yourself, is going to help you to file your case and proceed with your case. So this is the very basics, the first steps that the person will have to do if they're filing for asylum in the United States. Now, one interesting point I wanted to share, even though we're all very upset about, hardly upset about this whole situation that is developing in many different countries, not only Russia, Ukraine, now in Iran, there is their own situation, China and Taiwan, there is their own situation. There is a point of view that immigration actually is going to help the United States economy. And instead of cutting ties with countries like Russia, I'm talking about the immigrants from Russia, the United States should seize the opportunity, should use the opportunity to invite Russian talent, people who possess perhaps some exceptional ability, extraordinary ability, master's degrees, high-level education, experience, to boost the United States economy. And of course, we're talking about people who are not supporting Putin, right? Who would like to escape Russia, who do not want to go to war. Here I quote a billionaire investor, Bill Ackman, who believes that this may help economy. And here is Mr. Ackman, can help economy. And guess what? If we should not be concentrating our attention only on Russian immigrants, right? Immigrants in general can do that if you change a little bit the laws and allow immigrants not only from Russia, from India, from China, for example, talented people to come in and to participate in the economy, to take those work places that are empty right now to boost the economy. It will help. And here Mr. Ackman talks about how many people, it's actually the newspaper talks about this, how many people may potentially come, and how many people already left Russia. So this actually can be, if they will listen to him, the government of the United States, can be a very good solution, in my opinion, to not only for the economy in the United States, but also for immigration. We speak about the legal immigration. Many countries have special programs for talented people, for people with degrees, who have businesses, to become legal in their countries, like Canada, for example. Why the United States would not do the same? And it will help the economy, it will help immigrants and the immigration community, and it's just a win-win situation. So we're going to see if this particular suggestion will be heard, especially before the elections. It would be wonderful if the government would perhaps made a program about a special parole for someone like that, or would give a chance to get back into status for people who are already in the United States but who fell out of status. So these are possible solutions, and you do not have to be a billionaire to agree that immigrants do help economy, right? So this is one of the things that I hope one of the political forces are going to use to promote themselves before November elections. And now, guys, we have some time left for our Q&A. So let me see. Hi, Mustafa. Hi, Bilal. Hi, Riaz. Very nice to see all of you guys. I'm going to be answering your questions. Hi, Soul. Let me see. Hello, ma'am. Me and my wife can file I-45 and I-130 at the same time. I was a student but went out of status. If your spouse is a US citizen and you overstayed your status in the United States, you are eligible for concurrent filing, meaning that you guys can file your both steps of the adjustment of status together. That's fine. Now, if you guys, you and your spouse, none of you are US citizens, and you're trying to adjust your status based on something else, I do not know, maybe employment opportunity of some sort, a person who is out of status usually cannot, will not be able to adjust their status successfully if they lost their status already. There is one exception to that. It's 245K exception. If you were out of status for 180 days prior to filing your application for adjustment of status, then it may still work. All right, so you are allowed to have a hole in your status, but for no more than 180 days. And there are some other rules related to the specific rule, but for a marriage-based immigration, it shouldn't be a problem. Hi, Wakas. Hi, Alsu. Hi, Bilal. Hi, Mohammed. Hi, Viraya. I have a question. How long does it take to get a work permit after biometrics for a U visa? Oh. Biometrics for a U visa petition by itself doesn't really affect the processing of the work permit. I'm not sure when you filed for the U visa. Most likely, if you filed recently, you probably submitted your request for the work permit with your attorney already. And I'll be honest, I just do not know because it's a new process. The problem is that many people are waiting for those work permits based on a U visa petition, but they have to go through some different process. So long story short, there is about 5-year backlog for the work permits based on a U visa petition. Yeah, I know, 5 years sounds crazy, but that's the truth. So this is true for petitions that were filed first before the rules about the work permits were changed. So I would say, 5 years? But for the newly filed cases, if you filed your U visa petition recently and you already submitted the work permit recently, I just wouldn't know because I haven't had this in my practice yet. All I know is that any work permit apart from asylum-based work permit is currently taking at least 5 to 8 months minimum. Okay, so that's what's going on with that. Hi, Aziz. Hi, also. Let's see. You think they might review the case if the status says my correspondence was received and USCIS reviewing it? Well, yeah, right. They have those messages for you online, but how long that message is going to be hanging in your online status for? Sometimes it's for a very long time. If you want to have a better idea as to, and by the way, which correspondence, was it just a change of address? Was it something else? If you would like to have a better idea as to how long your case will be processing, you should be looking at USCIS processing times. But I'm going to tell you, if you look at them, you're going to get scared. Because absolutely almost for every category, the processing times will be 12 months plus. So if you're talking about adjustment of status, I think it's 36 months, it says. If you're talking about I-130, it's also 11 months plus. So me personally, I don't really look into online status because I don't understand those messages. Sometimes it's good just to see if they sent you something, like a green card, they say, oh, the card was ordered for you, or if there was a request for more evidence. But generally speaking, those messages are absolutely useless. So I wouldn't be tying up my timeline of my case to any of the messages I see there. Hi, Sona. If I came to the United States in 2013, can I apply for asylum now? Usually, you will not be able to file successfully for asylum if you missed your 1-year deadline, unless you qualify for an exception from 1-year filing deadline. And as I stated at the beginning of my presentation, those exceptions are usually based on, for example, changed country conditions, based on you maintained lawful non-immigrant status and status expired and you acted within reasonable time, or there were personal circumstances beyond your control and you acted within reasonable time after you were able to act, after these personal circumstances stopped to interfere with your ability to file for asylum. 13 years probably is way too long. Usually, the person would be still able to qualify for asylum only if country conditions change significantly in their home country. Or maybe personal circumstances. Listen, I once won asylum for somebody who lived here for a long time, but it was a gay person. And once they married in the United States, we were able to successfully argue that the marriage was that change in circumstances that gave a person ability to file for asylum and restore their asylum filing deadline. And USCIS office agreed. So that was a nice victory. Hi, Ahmed. I have asylum in court. Can I get advance parole and travel outside of the United States? No, unless you are also you qualify for TPS status. Once a person is in removal proceedings, they are not eligible for advance parole. If you look at the form I-131, it actually says it. The only successful way to obtain advance parole if a person is in removal proceedings will be also if the person receives TPS status. But that means that the removal proceedings will be administratively closed or terminated usually. Okay. So, but usually not, you can do that. Yeah, I know. Some people get stuck and they remove proceedings for years and they cannot do anything. All right. Let me see. We're going to take the last question for today. Hi, Alena. I'm waiting for asylum interview for almost a year. Is there any chance to speed up the process? The only known chance to me to speed up the process would be if you submit a request to expedite your interview and it will be granted. That's the only way that I know of where it's going to work. Some asylum places, whatever, are practicing something called a shortlist. But in my practice, I have never participated in anything like that, and I cannot tell you whether or not it's really working. A shortlist is something that you are asking to be placed on. And if a person who is supposed to have an interview cancels it, transfers it, reschedules it, then you will be called to take their spot. But from what I understand, you're going to receive a very short notice, like 3-day notice. This is something called a short list. I believe in Chicago they have that. In New York, New Jersey, you can file a request to expedite your asylum interview, but you have to have some evidence. Why? Some hardships that your family members who are outside of the United States are facing, or there are some health concerns for you in the United States. Maybe there are some other unique circumstances. And if your request is granted, then you will be called for the interview, I believe, within like 30 to 45 days. Okay. So that's the only way I know that will work for asylum interview. However, there is one more. There is another way, but I wouldn't recommend it to everyone. In some situations, it may work. That would be a lawsuit. But it's not after 1 year, guys. It will be when the person is stuck for many years and nothing worked, then it's possible. Okay, thank you very much for watching, for joining, for sharing this stream. It was a pleasure to see all of you. It's been a while. And please like and share this video and help others to find me online. Help others to spread the information and the news. Maybe somebody find this information helpful. Maybe you choose, so don't forget to like the stream. Thank you very much for your comments. Let me know what topics are interesting to you, so I will cover them in my future streams. And I hope to see you soon.